through this probably it might be 20 minutes. We'll get through this quick. We'll start with the VIX as usual, as I think this is the biggest determinant of kind of where things are going to go. There's everything else has been kind of wonky. The VIX is still seem to be the easiest, more or less. And so with the VIX, we could push up more, but there is one thing on the week time frame that makes me a little hesitant about thinking that we'll just necessarily keep pushing up on the VIX or that the market will keep pushing down. So if we remember where we talked about last time, we were talking about these three areas. We were talking about this is on the week time frame, so we can ignore the line right now. But we were talking about down here, which is at the 17.6, 75, 17.6, that 10-cent area, which we haven't come back down to yet. Just to show anyone that haven't seen, boom, boom, right, boom, 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 boom. Hey, this one's not as big, but the trend doesn't really start till here. But regardless, we see really big push-ups. This is still relatively big, but nowhere near what we saw at those 2 points in time. Anyway, some of the other things that we went over is also that we didn't have the last time is we have this month 375 that started in September. So we came down to there a little bit lower. I think it was 95. Where did it hit? What was the low? Why do I not see it? Oh, it's all the way up. For some reason I'm used to seeing it here. Yeah, so we hit 95. So the level here was at 1910. So that was the year we're looking at. I think it was 1908. Oh, that was 1904 for some reason last month. Interesting. Anyway, so we've come down here. Not surprising that we've pushed up off of it. It's nothing really huge per se. Um, well, the one thing, so what I look at here, and I'll look at it this way, this kind of goes what I was saying in the beginning. I think this is strong that we've hit through here, and this is strong that we've hit through here. We haven't had another month start yet, and it's going to be a while till we have another month start. If we do have some sort of doji like this, maybe a dragonfly, if it looks a little bit nicer, kind of almost does anyway. But I think we can then continue to push back up. From the week time frame, what kind of concerns me is that we did start under this, so I do think we're a little bit weaker than what we would be normally. But if we can at least sit in this range and not and start the next week somewhere around here above 2037, I think it looks pretty nice to push back up. At least this 22.4, and then maybe, I mean, it could push farther than that, but it would look nice if we just kind of think of a 1, 2, 3, and then boom. So like a 1, and then we can get like, I mean, maybe this pushes up, but to me, I think maybe we get more of like a 1 in this area, then boom, like this would be the base, 1, then 2, and then maybe we can push up from there. So something here, and then the next we would look for in this range, maybe something next week here, and then possibly this is the big challenge spot up there that I would be concerned about. If it can get back above that, we'd possibly have big, really big losses on the overall market. So from the one perspective on the month time frame, like I said, we haven't hit the biggest bullish spot for the VIX or bearish for the market, but we have hit two important spots: the 375 hole, and also the 200 smooth average that we have here. I don't like where the week started because we started under. It doesn't mean it can't push up. I mean, we have strong month averages. This is just a week average. So generally, almost always, not always, but generally, more than not, the month average is going to supersede the lower time frame. So the longer is going to be more important than the lower. So I'm not surprised that we pushed up, but I just don't think it's something that looks super crazy on the week time frame. Um, to like crazily push up. It definitely could, but that's just not something I'd necessarily expect right now at this moment. The day averages we have here, I haven't really looked at this too much. Besides, as I took a look earlier today, um, nothing was really that surprising. But we can look at the rest of the market now in a sense, just to show the rest of the market's a little bit wonky for what it is. So Apple start like to me the VIX is the most important thing. So that kind of is everything here, and other things will look a little weird from the small couple things I looked at earlier today. So let's kind of get into Apple right here. So getting into Apple, it started a really nice place. I'm not surprised that it pushed up. Uh, in the sense that it looked like it was in a really nice place. That's pretty much about it for me anyway. I guess technically, in a sense, you could almost say you could apply the same to here, and I think it's reasonable to say this is a decent entry point also as well. It's unfortunate what happened to it. Um, but there was also it's whatever. There's also the stuff with the VIX and everything else at the same time. So, but this is what I'm talking about. Things are a little wonky. So if we kind of go in like the beginning of the day, we can see, or just to note this, we can see on the day time frame that we do start above. Let's just take this. Let's just put this here to denote. And then we can just go to like the 1 hour. So we can see we started here, right? Or we started, obviously, the lines here. We started here. We came back. It looks like, I don't know what this is. Like 9 cents or something, 8 9 cents from it. Came down a little bit, 8 9 cents to the line or from the target, pushed all the way up. Pushed pretty high considering I think a lot of other things were falling at the time. So that was a little bit interesting. I think overall Apple's probably going to start to this block right here looks pretty nice to start trending downwards if we do start under, but who knows? I mean, I think with the where the VIX looks now, it's a lot more likely because where we were with the VIX, why does this look so weird? Okay, it was just Thursday, Friday. It's been, I guess it's been a while, but where we looked with the VIX anyway, I remember from the week time frame is that we just started really way too high, and like I was saying, like where are we really going to push to when we start up this high? So for the VIX, it made sense that we were going to come down. Um, Apple looked pretty bad one of the days. I think it was Friday, but it pushed up anyway. Maybe it was Thursday, but it pushed up anyway. Let me see. Yeah, Apple looked bad when it was Friday to me. Like that to me, this is bad for where it is. This is like open or short. I mean, if it pushes up, there's really not much you can do. But I didn't mess with the. Oddly enough, well, I'm not gonna say what it was, but I was just sleeping through the morning, so this is something I would have lost a little bit of money on. Not too much, too bad, but I would have lost a little bit here because I think this was a nice short entry. And then obviously here, I think this looked pretty nice to go up with where the VIX was, just to kind of give my own personal opinion. So this isn't like something I necessarily would have seen um, happening that day. So I'm not completely surprised because the VIX looked like it had some room to come down a little bit farther. So if we look at like from the month time frame, do we still have this up? If we look at the month time frame. Yeah, I mean, we hit the first one. Nah, I don't know if I would have. I don't know if I would have seen this or expected this per se. I think, yeah, I would have lost a little bit of money, not too much, but a little bit of money on Friday if I was awake in the morning to mess with this. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's good to be honest, right? Um, you know, so but I'll definitely be taking a position if we do start back under because I do think the VIX for where it is and everything looks pretty decent. Um, or it looks more likely that it would want to try to trend up at this point than trend back down since we have hit both of our targets. So I would prefer to see a new month. It kind of is what it is at the end of the day. I think a new week we could get a decent push up anyway. I don't necessarily think we need a new month. So now that that's out of the way, let's kind of go through some of these other ones. I have no idea what a lot of this stuff has been doing. I haven't paid attention to too much of it. The dollar as usual. I don't care. The market goes down, the dollar goes up. Yeah, I mean, we never entered this range. It looks like we've just been trending down from it. Tragic. It is what it is. The SPY, I think, has been a little wonky also as well, because this is also another day that this is also for the SPY that we started under, push back up. Then we started. I mean, this makes sense with the VIX, but like Apple didn't make sense. Like, I mean, it made sense kind of where it pushed up, but I don't know, want to go too much into it. But some things are a little bit wonky. It's why I'm not a huge fan of the whole market or the market as a whole right now. But this is a place where I would think to short. I don't really like the idea of it necessarily in the S&P because we have this whole block right here. But either way, from here to here looks pretty nice. What is it for 396 to 402 looks pretty nice. Um, for where we were last week, the VIX, this doesn't surprise me. Anything going like down without going up much today doesn't surprise me much at all. I was pretty surprised that I remember taking a couple glances at it today. I was kind of surprised that Apple was going up while everything was going down. Like from Apple perspective, I get it, but the fact that it's going to buck the trend with a lot of the market also just seems kind of weird. Um, like it definitely seems kind of weird. I don't care about SPXS. Check oil. Where are we on the oil for the week time frames? We're just ranging still. We haven't gotten a week to start above. What is this? 83.05. So still kind of just seems like it is what it is. And this is a lot of movement though, I will say, to have in one day. So if this is really like our range, more or less of the range where we currently are right now between these two averages, that's pretty wild that this week is from here to here, this week's from here to here, and it's pretty crazy that just in one day, we've almost taken out the whole range. So I don't ever think it's good to hit the top at the beginning of any of like of a daytime. Like if I'm looking at a 5-minute time frame and I'm looking at these averages, I don't want to see it push up in the first two, like 1 to 2 minutes of the 5 minutes, because I want to. The way I look at it is I want to see it start above the average, barely, but I want to see it start somewhere above the average. So I don't think this is that good. This looks that nice to in the beginning of the week push all the way up, but I guess we'll continue and we'll see based more on that. Interesting with Boeing, I guess with the defense stuff. I don't want to look into Boeing too much. I mean, it had its bounce here on the month time frame, which reminds me a little bit of this kind of thing reminds me of this, and like this reminds me a little bit of the Hang Seng a little bit. I know the Hang Seng did some crazy stuff, but we were talking about that. We weren't really too surprised. But it reminds me of like this and then pushing up and then like this and then pushing up. Obviously, this is a lot more, but it reminds me of that. Obviously, we're not really too surprised about this. I think we talked about this almost this range exactly, maybe a little bit higher. I don't think said a little bit higher, but we talked about this almost exactly coming up this high. Maybe I did say maybe a little bit higher. I don't really remember. It's in some other video, but I'm not surprised about this. All we needed to do is start relatively somewhere above here. So it's kind of just been doing its work. We had the new month, right? What here? Yeah, so we didn't come down. Yeah, we started here, came down a little bit, not too much. I mean, it could have come down more. It's not that big of a difference, but it could have come down more. About 1.5% away. So I would have liked to have seen it come down and touch it. So that's that. I don't really think that's. This market's kind of boring right now. It's just a lot of it feels like it's just all over the place, and it feels like things aren't super certain. Things feel a little bit more certain now that we have some direction with the VIX, but nothing feels like what it did. In September, it was weird as heck, but I was able to still guess like 85, 90% of the movements, like when I was watching them throughout the day, and then be able to guess some of them with like 95, 100% accuracy. This now, it just feels all over the place. Really does feel all over the place. Like kind of any way could happen. I mean, it things excuse me, things to me look horrible from a whatchamacallit, from a what do you call it? Like a economic standpoint, or like the economy doesn't look great. So and there's also this while I'm looking at this doesn't look good for silver. I mean, it could push up. It has the whole month, right? So it's not a big deal to run to these time frames. Gold, it's almost the same kind of thing, except for we started the month right up here, and we're not like pushing into it. We started here. Um, so hopefully this isn't like a top where they create it. We do have like a base around here of 170 or 1700. So we'll see what happens with that. Let's go down some of these. Let's see. CVS always seems higher every time I look at it. It's pretty impressive. Amazon still looks ugly. Man, that looks really ugly on Amazon. Jeez, that looks really bad. I mean, we end up here. This isn't incredibly surprising. This is another example. It kind of reminds me of the VIX, but not the same exact thing. If we pulled I just like to show it because it looks similar for some of these things. Like we look this here, like the VIX the week, the same kind of structured thing for it. Where I'm not like a huge fan. I'm not saying this is gonna end up continuing downwards or whatever. I don't know what it's gonna do really until maybe I'll have a better idea when we start to see the next week. But the idea of coming down to this support and then like starting up, it reminds me of like this, and then we start up, and then like of course we want to come back down at least most of the time just to touch the support level. It doesn't mean it's gonna push all the way down. Like I wouldn't have figured necessarily off the week that this, if I was just looking at Amazon, that we were going to push all the way down in this week. But I would think, okay, we're at least going to come back down to touch support. So it just reminded me of that in a second. I just wanted to bring that up. Mara, anything interesting? No, still looks ugly, ugly, ugly. Funds around that 102 again. It really, really adds a clear. I've said it's crazy the other times it's bounced here, but it really does look wild when you look at it from this perspective. And it's a lot easier to understand. We look at the fib here also. A couple things I don't like about fun so far is um, we don't have a bounce here. We have a bounce. We have a bounce. We don't have a bounce here, but I also think it would have been fine to come under and touch this. Um, I think the farther away we come, it's probably the worst. But I also don't like the fact that we have this bounce at more. I mean, this could go up. I wouldn't necessarily have confidence in this. I don't think this is a short, but it would make me quite concerned coming down here whether we could even get back up because of this area and then all the other levels of support. It's just something that looks indecisive, and I don't like that above where it is. Upstart, poor thing for upstart. It's getting shreked. Yeah, it just looks bad. I don't want to go into that too much. Western Digital holding doesn't look amazing. We'll see how the weekend's on this. Let's see. DraftKings, are we back in? No, DraftKings still isn't back in yet. It's still on top. It's had a lot of failed breakouts. So we'll see what happens. I think a lot of this is just the market and the VIX. I don't think DraftKings itself is really that important for the movement right now. Fizz, don't care. This, I don't care. GME, I really don't care either. Not really like huge thing of importance to me. Like if anyone wants me to, I can always look at this more in depth. I don't like GME. So I mean I don't like anything right now. For a long, I don't like anything. Anything that would be like longing like an equity and not like a derivative that's based off the inverse of something, right? Because obviously, um, like right, something's always going up. With derivatives, something's always going up. Either the derivative or what's the derivative itself. So something's always going up in the market. But yeah, copper. It'd be interesting to see what happens here also as well as the day. What do you have the week, month? We could come back down the months. Pretty high up. I don't see anything too specific here. Meta, super high up. This is nice how it broke up here. Nice how it broke through. A little tragic right here. This is a really nice opening too. Yeah, I mean most of this is probably just the VIX, really, to be honest. So in that same sense, I don't have a lot of wow, Matterport. Holy SH. Wow. Okay. Last time I remember looking at this was when it was around 7. Maybe it was here. No, it must have been here. Wow, it's at 298. Still looks bad. Viacom, wow. Well, it didn't break back down. Am I crazy? Oh yeah, wow. Okay, I remember last looking at it around here. Wow, so this thing really, we'll see. I mean, it's got some support under it, but it's nothing too crazy. Nvidia still looks okay for what it is, but I mean, we could see it come back down to 159. I still think possible position here. This is probably still a lot safer. I do kind of like if it does come back down here in a short position, in the sense of that we've already hit here. We already have this here. But we'll see. Or maybe like a failed breakout with like left shoulder, head, right shoulder, something like that. Could look pretty decent. PayPal still falling down on this one. They're not doing too well still. Roblox don't care. Tesla been getting wrecked, sadly. They came close. I guess double top kind of came close to the same area, just pushing down. Nothing too special about it. I think Doge is still ranging. Doge is still ranging. There's still a ray of hope. This is, to me, this is, if I was playing Doge, I would have gotten in here. Whatchamacallit, I would have gotten in here, and I would have already gotten out and just waited for the same position all over again. Like I said in the other video, I expected this to happen anyway. If we broke out of there, which is why I also thought this was another decent entry spot. So it's been kind of going as expected anyway, in a sense of like the two scenarios, which is nice, and I do think it could be bullish on it. We don't really have a lot of time left. 23 seconds. I guess natural gas is interesting. We'll see if this pushes down more. It's come up to the top. We've come under. Pretty standard stuff for what it is. But we could push up here because it's at strong support. So I'll leave it at the VIX. So this comes out as a VIX video because that's essentially what it is. And take care. I might be streaming tomorrow morning. I don't know, but take care, y'all.